tell me the person that you were at 21 years old before all this happened to
Mhm.
you. I believe it was back in 2003. Just tell me the young man you were at the time.
The young man I was at the time was I was at first a troubled youth. I went to juvenile. When I got out of juvenile, I was in the 10th grade. Started a new school, Kettering High School. Met this great coach there named Leroy Bogart, man. And he turned out to be the best thing for me, man. Like he really told my mother that he'd make sure that I graduate from high school and everything, because my future wasn't looking real good at that point. And I was in trouble, man. I was at trouble youth, man.
And weren't you at the University of Arkansas? Do I have that right?
I
Or
did. So this what Coach Bogart did. He actually put me on a football team at Kettering High School. And 2 years of playing football for him, I was able to walk out of there with a high school diploma and a scholarship, partial scholarship to UAPB, historically black college.
wow, so you were a troubled youth, but you were on the right path, right? Lord knows I had mistakes when I was younger, but you were on the right path. Is that accurate?
Of course, it's accurate. I mean, when you a youth, you expect youth to get in things here and
That's
there
right.
and have a little trouble. Like that's the whole point of having like aftercare to help these youth out to get back on track. You know, and I just think it's a wonderful thing that just teachers at Kettering High School just paid attention to. Man. They put a lot of stuff in me. You know?
Yeah, I had some teachers too that really saved me. All right, so let's talk about, for folks who don't know, August 6, 2003. Two men, one armed with a rifle, fired more than 10 shots at a porch in Detroit, Michigan. A man who happened to be passing by, 26-year-old Willie Thomas, was killed. Uh, so you had nothing to do with this. You weren't even at the scene, correct?
Correct, but the crime actually happened like 3 days before. My cousin, I was in his neighborhood, just tagging along with him, trying to make money to go back to college, to University of Arkansas at Pine Bluff, because it's stuff that I had to pay for, like books and stuff. So in the process of me doing that, like I was a witness to my cousin getting shot 12 times in front of me by one of his friends. He was in the drug gang doing his thing, and they had a miscommunication. When you in the hood, you have miscommunication that escalates super fast before anybody blink. It's like things happening, man.
So wait, I want to make sure I have this right. 3 days before the shooting, you were
August
a
the
witness
3rd.
to the shooting in the area, right? Do I have that right?
No, listen, it's kind of confusing, right? But it's stuff
Mhm.
that lead up to that point. Like
Mhm.
August the 3rd, I was with my cousin. He got shot during a drug deal.
Right.
I fled the scene because at the time, like I didn't know what to do. I wanted to get my head together. I'm just trying to get in college, so I'm not trying to get all out into the drug game and all of that type of stuff, man. I'm just trying to get some easy money and go home. So
Mhm.
I notified my family about what was going on, and what had happened. So, my mother, me, and my brother decided to go to the west side, like where I had another cousin that, and I was going to lay there, and just work everything out and figure things out as a family, man. And
And so how
in the process of me doing that, like 3 days later, the guy that actually shot my cousin went off and still was doing killing and shooting. He was doing what he do. And that's what you should expect a person to do if they living in that type of life. Like you don't just shoot one person and then, just stop shooting people. Like that don't work like that. You're gonna be shooting for the rest of your life, man, because you done made an enemy, man. You made a real enemy, man. So
absolutely.
yeah.
So then how do they even manage to pin this on you? Again, you're not at the scene. There's no evidence whatsoever. You had witnesses who said that you were not at this scene. How were they able to pin this on you?
First thing, like like with the witnesses, like they didn't come on to after. Like a lot of times when people put you at the center of an investigation, man, like they really putting you in harm's way, man. Like you didn't have no evidence other than me being involved when my cousin got shot. Like I was a victim. I'm a victim of a crime because I was right there with him. And you turn me from being a victim into a perp of a crime that happened 3 days later around the corner from where the crime actually happened at. And then you investigate, and then Detective Olson said that he investigated everything that was happening in that neighborhood, right? So while in the midst of his investigation, like even in our court records, you can see whereas this guy is being questioned. You know what I mean? This guy is being brought in. Like they brought a guy in, um, and the guy that they brought in, they actually released him. And the guy that actually shot my cousin, like they actually released him, but at the same time, he said that he shot the house up like a month before. So this haven't even been 30 days. The guy that just committed the crime against my cousin didn't tell though. You know, he didn't see what happened or know what happened. So just to let you know how that goes. So the guy was still out there. And you know, he shot that guy house up a month before. And then when all this stuff happened with my cousin, like he went back and shot the house up again because he thought that, oh, it's over with. They're gonna tell, they're gonna do all of this. I'm gonna be doing time for the rest of my life. I might as well, you know, hurt all my enemies type thing. And that's just how I go. And somehow they put me as being him. Like it just didn't make sense to me, man. But they put him as being me.
When and how did you even find out that you're a suspect?
I found out because August the 16th, after this, like 2 weeks after this, like I don't know what's going on. I just had a birthday on the 15th. So at the time, you know, I had a little bit of drugs left from when everything broke bad. So I'm just trying to sell a little bit of drugs so I can have some money. You know what I mean? And then all of this happened, like I get arrested for selling drugs on Van Dyke and Mac at the Shell station. It's like 4 in the morning, man. But when I go through all that drug stuff, the judge tell me like you being rented out for murder, for first degree murder.
You're
And that's
being
how
ratted out? You said ratted out?
rented out,
Oh,
rented out,
rented out.
rid,
Oh, okay.
rid, yeah,
Rented out.
rented out.
Wow.
So I actually left the courtroom, went to 1300 in Bobian, which is the homicide detective, the whatever the headquarters or whatever. And I meet a Detective Olson. He investigate where he tried to talk to me, tell me what's going on, but he asking me like what's going on and all of this, and he asking me about this, but at the same time, how you expect me to know what's going on? Like he already played it like, oh, you know what's going on type of thing, and I really didn't know what was going on. I think he talked about a drug case or something happened after I sold somebody some drugs or something. I don't know what he was talking about, man, but man, he just was like, well, if you ain't do the crime, you ain't got nothing to worry about. So basically, he left my fate in the hands of a jury, man, when you didn't even have the evidence. And the evidence is pointing towards another guy. Like, that was wrong, man. And because I was poor and because my family, you know, tried to help me out to get through college, like, I didn't have the money, man. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, I know the environment and the things that I was raised around, right? So me knowing that, I know that football or college or whatever, that's my only hope, man. So I did something that was non-violent and try to sell drugs, and it turned to this whole situation, man, where 15 years later, man, I'm coming home.
Mr. Salter, why do you think they chose you? Why do you think they said, you know what, we're just going to pin it on him?
First chose me, it was an identification given up for my cousin. If you're familiar with suggestive identification, I don't know if you're
Right.
familiar with that or not.
I am, but
But
please explain it.
what they did was they asked him suggestive questions. You know what I mean? Like this is known practice to anybody that studies mental about the art of suggestion. So what he suggested to him was he showed this guy a single photograph of a guy that was a victim of another crime, and he showed this guy a single mugshot photograph and said, "What do you know this guy as doing?" So right there, you suggested to this guy that you know me. You get what I'm saying? And back then I didn't realize it, but it's just so much. Like it's so much education going to being a detective and all of this stuff, man. Like now I know the law and I know what suggestive identification is. I know some of the symptoms that you may see to somebody that's suggestive identification, because if you eliminate that suggestive identification, which in my case was a single mugshot photo of me, would that guy still pick me out for this crime? And the answer is completely no, man. And how you know that is you look at the evidence or the identification that this guy provided before, you know what I mean, he was introduced to the suggestive identification. So all the way up until the point that he's seen this photograph, you got to evaluate based on the evidence that was, you know, established beforehand. And it was no evidence established other than the point that he said two perps um, pulled up on feet and was shooting. He said one of them was 5'7", 150, named Rob, which was my cousin. Um, but he was in the hospital. You know what I mean? Like all this time, he in intensive care. He just got shot 12 times. So right there, you showing people that it's mistaken identity, that it's likely that this guy may be mistaken because he called Rob by name. You get what I'm saying? And then he said it was another guy, 6 foot thin. At the time, I was 6'3". At the time, I was 650 playing football, man, like playing linebacker, man. There's no way you can consider me 6 foot thin, man.
Mm.
So in the process of taking this through the courts, they felt, and they really didn't want to let me out, man. Just to be real with you, like they really didn't see it was no need to even look at my case, man. And they really wasn't going to let me out, man.
And what's crazy,
Based on
Mr.
all that.
Salter, yeah, and what I keep on seeing in these cases is that whether it's Philly, whether it's Detroit, uh, these detectives or the police, they get their mind focused on somebody and they just run with it, and they can do it because they're poor. They don't have money to protect themselves. You get this horrible public defender, so to speak. You're poor, you're black, and you're up against this criminal justice system that's white and wealthy. And how can you defend yourself? So it's
Prejudice, and it's
yes,
prejudice.
yes,
And you
absolutely.
know, and one of the things that I highlight, man, because I lost my faith in justice, man. Like I lost my faith in justice. You know, it's been 26 other guys outside of me that came home through the conviction integrity unit. And that's from like 2.5 years to now. These people that would have died in prison, man. These people that was doing the 26 years, the 15 years like me, all of that, man, they would have died in prison if it weren't for the conviction integrity unit. Because like it's no like actual innocence, man. It's a claim, right?
Yeah.
So the courts wasn't established, man, to judge actual innocence. You know what I mean?
Yes.
They're not established to judge that. They just
Yeah.
established to judge the facts against you. But if you got an officer, man, that deliberately cut corners, hiding facts, and doing all of this, man, you can't win, man. Like bottom line is, with me, I shouldn't even had to go to trial, man. Like you supposed to been able to see through this beforehand, but I just think they took a gamble with my life, man. And they just was really focused on convictions at this time. And I just think that, this officer really wanted to put a notch under his belt, man, that he was willing to
Mhm.
sacrifice an innocent man.
Because they don't see it as human. They see it,
You
like
know,
you said, a notch, closing a case. And I feel like
a
sometimes
mug
they put us,
shot. They see a
yeah,
mug
yeah,
shot. That's
they
all they
put
see.
us all in the same category. Like, oh well, we got one. But let me ask you, this trial, you are convicted and found guilty within 3 days.
Three
Tell us
days.
about this trial.
Like trial, man. Oh my God, man. That hurt so bad, man. That stuff hurts so bad, man. Like I feel like the whole system, like I got railroaded, man. Everybody in the courtroom said it, like, man, this guy just got railroaded. Like even with me leaving out, like I left out pissed, like pissed. They'll tell you, man. Like I was pissed. I hit my head against the table, all of that. Like even now, I don't even remember hitting my head against the table, but they said I did it, and I did, man. It's just that I was so pissed, man. I was so shocked that I couldn't even cry, man. Like you ever had been hurt so bad, man, like and the person hurt you so bad that you can't even cry, man. Like that's not like I see that, but like I never experienced it, man. It was to the point where I was just numb, man, for everything. Like I didn't just believe what just happened, man. You know,
Mm.
and all through the trial, like my lawyer never called no witnesses, man. He never called not one witness,
No witnesses.
none of that type of stuff. And I had alibi witnesses. I had alibi witnesses at the trial, and his thing was to attack uh, the identification. His thing was to attack the suggestiveness, man. You know, so we actually went in there thinking that we was going to win. But I don't know. I never been through no real trial.
Right,
Like
of
this guy
course.
got to know. This guy got to know. Like this a murder trial, man. And you don't got no evidence. And the only thing you doing is fighting what the prosecutors say, man. I feel like that whole thing was a sham. Real
Did the
talk.
person the suggested evidence, that witness, did that person ever recant?
He did recant, man, because they you know, I had finally been able to get some competent counsel, and with the federal defender's office, I actually was doing briefs, working with prison jailhouse lawyers, and we was just, you know, we created like little silos with guys that was really innocent, stayed in the law library, fighting, writing, doing all of that stuff to get out, man. And those guys just showed me a lot, man. They showed me different things. I was able to read guys' briefs. You know, I read so many briefs that I was able to, you know, learn how to establish my own brief. I learned the components of writing brief. You know what I mean? And I didn't try to be all like a lawyer or all of that because I didn't feel like I needed that. Because the only thing that kept me in prison was a single mugshot photo, man.
Were
That
you,
Detective Austin input into the whole thing. Like that's crazy, man.
were you or are you, because I cover this a lot too. I hear people who they they give, they a false evidence, false witness or whatever. And it's one thing about the detective, but were you angry or upset, or are you, about this person who originally said that you did it? Or do you feel like they were a part of the system as well too, and they got railroaded or confused?
At first, I was, man. Like at first, I was just that. Like that's that whole testimony what took my life, man. For 15 years, man. I went to prison. I was 21 years old, man, and I came out 36. It's a blessing to even do that, you know. But I came out 36, so it'd be impossible for somebody not to feel some type of way. But when he recanted, and I seen that, you know, his acts wasn't malicious, you know, it was all on the officer, man. He didn't ask him what grade, if he completed high school. Like it's so many factors now that I know that he should have asked him, man, before he
Mm.
took my life, man. He should have asked him that. He should have made sure that this was the guy. His superior should have made sure, like, man, like, you sure this the guy? Like, we just got him on this. Like one mugshot photo, man. Like, why would you even waste the court time on one mugshot photo other than you just trying to be tough on crime, or you trying to do this and do this and you taking shortcuts, man. And that shortcut, man, gave me a natural life sentence, 2 counts of attempted murder and felony firearm, man. And it made it hard in prison for me with the
Natural.
guards. And you know why I made it hard in prison with me with the guards? Because they
Mm.
thought I was gonna be there for the rest of my life, man.
So
They
they
was
can do
telling
whatever they
me
wanted.
absolutely. They was like, nobody gonna listen to you, man. Like you doing natural life, man.
So tell
Like you
me, tell
never
me
getting
about.
out. Like you never getting out. They said that I was gonna be there when their kids was working. They like, yeah, you will be here when my kids start working here. You job security. Like all that stuff was
They
said
would
to me.
tell you that. They would say you are job security. My kids. Wow.
Job security. Like they'll come and tear a guy's cell up, right? And get a guy mad and then take them to the hole and be like, that's job security, man. As long as they got guys coming to
Wow.
prison, going to the hole, doing all this, man, they forever got a job. And
So,
this all
Mr.
the stuff
Salts,
that I had to deal with. All
yeah,
the
Mr.
mental
Salter,
illness,
15 years, you're 21 years old, you're 25 years old, you're 30 years old.
yeah.
Uh, how are you getting by just being behind those bars for 15 years? What was that day to day like for your spirit, for your soul?
Extremely hard, man. Like I subscribe to a lot of different religions, man, because I believe that, spirituality, man, is one. Like I believe truth is one. I believe that knowledge is 360 degrees, man. You know what I'm saying? And I just believe that, I reached out to God, man. I reached out to him and I called him Father. I called him whatever I need to call him, man, to help me out of that situation because it was a bad situation. And a lot of
Yeah.
people still don't understand like how much a person go through. Like, cause I got a fighting spirit. You know what I mean? It's not like I was no guy just in there just laying back and doing all that. No, I was in there, building my mind, educate myself, and all of that. And that's a threat in prison, man. They don't want guys to teach guys how to stay out of trouble, man, and keep guys out the way so they can go home, man. You know what I mean? They ain't like that. And that's the way that I had to go home, man, because I knew by the sentence that God gave me, like, man, I had to change my ways. That's the only way I was gonna get out. And it wasn't gonna be no through no parole board or none of that, man. It was gonna be through God. So,
What what was your lowest moment behind bars?
man, every moment was low, man. Every moment was low. Like you waking up every day to something that you're not even supposed to be going through, man. You waking up every day, you seeing guys get stabbed in the eye, you seeing guys get hot water through on them, man. Like, come on, man. Like you innocent. Why should a person have to be subject to that, man? You got guys in there, they got guys on STG programs where they might get like $50 a month. You know what I mean? So you got these guys, STGs, that's like security threat group, like gangs and stuff. So you got these guys in there that you only provide $50 a month. They only can get $50 a month from their family. They can only get 4 phone calls a month, right? So you got these guys in there and they just, it's hard to survive, man. You can't survive on $50 a month, be for real, man. And they rob gas, they do all type of store gas, like they do all of that stuff. And that's the stuff that I had to grow up around, man. That's the stuff that, I still gotta go to counseling and get out of my head, like seeing a lot of stuff, you know?
Yeah, I can imagine it's trauma.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
trauma.
Trauma, especially for somebody that was in college. And the worst thing a guy probably did was sell drugs. I never minimize it, but it's not no violent crime, man. It's not gonna never get you to the point where you doing natural life, man. You're not gonna never get that for that. Even though the little things that I did, I always made sure, okay, I go in there, get myself together and come back out. Like I'm not never going to do anything that's going to jeopardize, me coming home, man. Like I'll take a slap on the wrist, but man, they gave me the whole boat. They gave me the
Who
whole boat, man, with no out date. Let's
who
make
was
that
who was
clear.
who was crueler? Uh, some of the inmates or the guards?
Crueler,
Yeah, cruel. Like who was meaner? Some of the inmates or the guards?
of course, the guards was meaner, man, because they got that persona that if we let these guys do what they want to do, like they're not gonna respect us, man. They got a code they live by in there, man. It's a code they live by, man. Like they doing all this enforcement on the gangs. Like I feel like at some point they're a gang. Every time I used to walk through the child hall, it'd be like 6 or 7 of them right in front of the child hall, just harassing guys and doing this type of stuff. And it's just like they try to intimidate a guy, man. They try to kill a guy's spirit, man.
Mm.
So a guy gotta have a strong will, man. That's why my will was strong and he's still strong to this day because of everything that God took me through to prepare me, man. You know, for this opportunity.
So you were finally released August of 2018, August
Right.
15th, on your birthday, right?
Correct.
August 15th, 2018, you're finally released.
Correct.
Briefly tell us how you were able to get your freedom.
First of all, man, I fought every day I was in prison for my freedom, man. I went to the law library. I'll give you the timeline for it. All right, from 2003 to 2009, I was filing appeals, denied every appeal. I went straight to writ of habeas corpus, which is mostly like a guy final appeal. You know what I mean? And when I went to the appeal, I presented to suggestive identification, how they was mistakenly and everything. And you know, it was just this one judge, man, from the federal court, Judge Patrick J. Duggan, man. And he seen my fight. He was like, this guy got a point, you know, because he actually appointed me counsel. Like, he appointed me counsel. You're supposed to get counsel at your initial appeal. Like, you don't see people, a lot of people getting counsel like at the last appeal. You get what I'm saying? Like, he gave me counsel because he felt that my argument was good, but it needed strengthening by an attorney because there was a lot of legal issues in there. You know what I mean? Because they tried to pick me as being like my cousin, which was Rob. They tried to say that I was Rob because while I was going through the appeal courts, right? The appeal courts, like their opinions, it was like, oh, he had independent basis. He knew this guy. First of all, I never knew the guy. You know what I mean? But they tried to say that the victim that was subjected to the single identification, that he knew me. But if you having a mistaken ID, of course he gonna think he know the guy that, you know what I mean, that you picked out, that you didn't show him as to be the person. Like, of course. Of course he gonna think he know me because he think he picking the right guy. Or whatever. I don't know what his psychology was with that. But you know, it's just sad, man. It's really sad though. And I
Wow,
just got
15
blessed by
years.
God. So I said 3 to 9. All right. I got appointed counsel in 2009. Federal Defender's Office came in. They reinvestigated everything that happened. You know, talked to all my family, which they all was aware of the situation because I had a cousin involved in the situation, as well as myself. You know what I mean? So they went and did that. They went to the victim at the time he was in prison. They got an affidavit from him recanting. I took a polygraph in 2012, passed the polygraph. They still didn't let me out. After all this evidence, like we just
Damn,
submitting
damn.
6,500. We submit 6,500. We putting on the record everything we got, man. Like, we really putting on the record every little piece of evidence we got, and we got a lot, man. They had me to the point that I was even in there trying to investigate my own crime. Like, I'm in there like, no, dude, no, 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 no. You know what I mean? And guys told me stuff. Some guys did, man. And I just applied it, man. I applied it. And the guy that actually did the crime confessed to me, man, because I seen him in prison. I seen him in
Oh,
prison. He wrote me an affidavit, everything. But the thing was with the affidavit, right? He wanted me to sign a contract with him just to say that he committed the crime.
hmm. I
It
think what
take a lot
really,
longer than an hour, man. Like, it's take a
yeah,
lot
no,
longer than an hour with this, man. But I
no,
actually met the
absolutely.
guy in prison, man. You know,
I mean,
which is
clearly
the
you're
same
fighting
guy.
for your freedom. Like, it's just, and what's crazy to me with these stories that I cover is that these detectives, these police departments, they do all this and there's no punishment. There's no penalty.
None,
A lot of them are still
none,
working. I mean, it's just
none.
like, so if there's no repercussions, then they're going to be able to keep on doing it. Like this detective you're talking, Detective Olson, clearly every case he's been involved in should be investigated. Every single one. You know what I
Right.
mean? So it's just, yeah, it's just crazy to me. But I know we're running out of time, but I have to ask you, tell me about Innocence Maintained, because what I love is that, I have a lot of people who a lot of friends have been behind bars. When you come out, there's nothing for you. You don't have no transportation. There's no
Right.
job history that you can rely on. You got to
Right.
check that damn box saying you've been to jail. Even, so it's crazy. So tell me about the kind of work you're doing now with Innocence Maintained.
The type of work I'm doing right now is just basically like exoneree support, man, because these guys don't got nobody. Like you just said, that's a perfect example. Everything that I've been through in prison, like I had to come out here and go through a lot more things, man. Like everybody think, okay, this guy free, all right, everything good. No, it's not, man. It's another fight out here. You got people fighting out here every day to pay bills, man. And then you put guys out here um, until they get compensated, and you expect them to live off people and live with their families and do all of that. Like that's not what we're trying to do. So I started this housing project because I was like, there's no way that I can try to set programs up or support groups for guys, and these guys don't even have the basic necessities met, like housing, man. So I purchased a shelter when I got compensated. I purchased a house, renovated it, and now it's our shelter, man. It's a shelter. It's a 3-bedroom house. We was having a hard time during COVID, so I had to close it down for a minute because the bills, man. The bills get
Wow.
too much. Like even though I'm doing all I can do, it's like I still had to survive for myself. Like it's still hard for me. I'm
I
starting
mean,
from scratch.
if you're okay saying this, how much were you compensated? How much did Michigan pay you for taking away your life for 15 years?
They give you 50,000 for every year, man.
50.
So
That's
you
it.
calculate that. You calculate that. No,
That's it.
this just like a claim though, but you actually file your lawsuit like 3 years later, man. But it's a process, and this claim has been met. It's a housing bill that Michigan set up so that guys would not have nothing, man, coming out. Because that's the hardest thing coming out here to nothing.
It should be $1 million per year. You
Uh,
know,
it should be
a
$100 million,
hundred
man.
million per
What I
year. It
went
should
through, man, like it should be 100 million, man, because I
should be a
didn't even
set
have
for
to go
life.
through that. Like you
Right.
got to realize this through my process, somebody should have stopped it, man. Like it
That's
shouldn't have
right.
had taken for the conviction integrity unit to create an organization just to get me out of prison, man. When I'm actually innocent, man, and you see I'm actually innocent.
Do
Like
they
that.
do
That's
they
the system
tax you
law.
on that 50,000? Do you pay taxes on it?
No, not that test.
Okay. All right. Mr. Salter, we talk about, folks might say, oh, the system failed you. But in ways, I think that this is the way that it was designed. I mean, it was designed to not be effective for black folks, for poor folks. You have, you know, hundreds, not even that long ago, but many, many years ago, you have black folks who had freedom and they would get captured and be put into slavery. Right. I mean, this is how it was designed. So when people say the system failed you, what do you say to that? And what do you think there is a way to is there a way to change this system at all?
All right, the system completely failed me, man, and I really think that the law isn't for people of color. For the simple fact is, look at the Constitution, man. Look when it was built. Look when everything involved around it was going on. Like, man, they intended to lock us out, man. Like that's why you see me studying law, you understand things, and you know that when it says we the people, right? We the people, we the people, we the people. Like it's still slavery being held on, and we have presidents. You get what I'm saying? So the thing is that they never considered us as being people, man. And that enraged you at a point, man, where you think that your people didn't help build this country, and then we can't even get something basic as a fair trial, man. Like that hurt, man. And that's why a lot of our people was killed, slavery happened, all type of little racist stuff is because they never considered us people, man. They always considered us as being property, like dogs, cats. Like they treated us worse than they would a dog, man. At least
Mr.
they
Salter,
buried a
but
dog. Like at least they would bury their dog. They
right.
wouldn't
But
bury us, man.
but what you
That's
just said
simple,
is so relevant because they saw us as
man.
property, and then here you are behind bars and you have a guard telling you you are job security.
You are
So they
MD.
even
No,
call
they don't say that. This is what they say. You are the property of MDOC.
property,
You are
property.
property, man.
And you have
It's
guards
property.
telling
All
you
they
that.
did was created a system to get free labor out of us, man. And that stuff's so sad. It's so sad to the point where they had to create the Bill of Rights. Think about what Bill of Rights is. It's a granted privilege, right? So
Yeah.
they gave us granted privilege, man. Like we still didn't get our rights. But the people that, that describe themselves and they don't have a nationality don't have their rights, and being black, being colored, being a Negro, like that's not no nationality, man. None of that is nationality.
Is there one thing you would like to see change? Is there one thing that, like, okay, if we can get this changed, then that will be at least one step?
Man, I really can't tell you, man, but I can tell you this, like particularly like in Wayne County, man, like these exonerees, man, like they fight, like they getting out here and they doing something, man, and we all getting together, man. We gonna push a new legislator. We gonna push all that stuff that they was doing to us that they thought wasn't gonna get figured out. But we was writing grievances on, and all our grievances was going to their homeboys that was the captain or lieutenant. Nah, man, like that ain't how God work, man. You can't mistreat people, man, and think that everything gonna be good. You're not gonna get found it out. Like you hurt innocent, they hurt innocent people in there, man. Like I did a lot of time in the hole. I spent half my bit in the hole, man, because I
Mm.
needed to deal with myself. I had so much anger, so much fight in me that I really had to deal with myself,
And the whole solitary confinement, right?
man. Yeah.
There have been some activists who say that solitary confinement should be abolished. They should stop it completely. Do you agree with that?
I do agree. I think long-term solitary confinement is bad, but it
Yeah.
was times where I lost people where I really needed to be in there, and instead of me telling them, like, oh, I need y'all to put me in here to do this, I'd cuss the police out or do something like that. And I go in there and I work on my law work. You got to think when you in like in segregation, the process by how you get your law materials, they bring it to your cell. So you telling me that I'm in my cell, I can work out in here, eat in here, and I can work on my law materials, and you gonna bring the books to me? Like
Mhm.
that wasn't all bad to me, man. That's where I had to go to heal my mind, man, or I'd have been in a bad place right
How are you healing now? What are you doing now to get through all that trauma?
What I'm doing now, man, is straight out innocent maintain, man. This is my way of helping because it helped me, man. Like all this stuff therapeutic, man. Like when you help people that been through what you've been through, you helping them to solve problems that you may still have, but you giving them, you know, you giving them dialogue on it, and they might use that to help and come back to you like, yeah, you know what, that worked, man. And just knowing that you could help somebody, man, and that everybody wasn't like I was, where nobody could help me. Man, that's the greatest feeling in the world, man. That's my way to pay back God for everything he did. Like I know it's a lot of people out here don't understand like why I do certain things or I do this or I do that, man. Because my connection with God,
Yeah.
because it's deep. He got me out of natural life, not natural life sentence, man.
Natural life. We have to head out, but how can folks follow you, support you? How can they support Innocence Maintained if they're able to? And if you have a Cash App, please let me know as well. But how can folks support Mr. Salter?
Y'all can support Innocent Maintain by going to innocentmaintain.org. We got a main website, outlines all our programs, my story, everything that we got going on. And you can hit the $ Innocence Maintain. That's INNOCENCEMAINTAINED. I know it's long, but this business and we got to make sure everything is formatted to be easily for the user, and that's what we're
And
doing
that
right now.
and that's your Cash App?
Yes, that's my cash
Yeah.
app.
So
Innocent.
$ Innocence Maintained. Right. That's
Yes.
your Cash App. All right. Wonderful.